Today I want to talk to you about how to fight global ignorance, and I call this a public health primer. Why do I call this a public health primer? Because ignorance can threaten global and local health and health systems. I first want you to introduce to Dr. Hans Rosling. He's a Swedish physician, professor of international health, and an edutainer. He uses data in educational materials to teach the public in a very entertaining way. He's all about data. So he's not arguing, he's not just using words, knowledge. He's using data to convince the public to rethink their attitudes, their beliefs, and to question ignorance. So he has been going around the world. Indeed, again, he's worked as a physician in Africa and many other places, but he is using data and animations to convince people, to show people how things have actually changed. And not just, by reading papers, but actually by showing animated data. And before I continue, I want to first pause you this video and take the Gapminder test yourself. This could be in your Canvas shell, or you can go to the website, just Google Gapminder in ignorance, and you'll find the test. Okay, I'll pause here for a second. So some of the example questions in the Ignorance Project are, for example, in all low-income countries across the world today, how many girls finish primary school? 20, 40, or 60%? In the last 20 years, the proportion of people living in extreme poverty worldwide has almost doubled, remained more or less the same, or almost half. So these questions seem to be pretty straightforward, but they're not really. The first answer is 60%. The second answer is almost half. And a lot of people don't see the world that these changes have actually occurred. I gave this quiz recently to my class, microbiology students. And to my surprise, or maybe not to my surprise, the average score was 26%, which is less than just choosing any random answers. So they were quite surprised. My students really questioned what happened. We're all smart. We're all at the University of Florida in one of the best schools in the country. How come we didn't realize what the answers were? Maybe we're all ignorant. So to understand how this happens and what's actually behind, listen to Ted Rosling's and Ola Rosling's TED Talk. It's about the Ignorance Project, and it really teaches you and shows you why he's doing what he does and how effective it is. All right, let's pause the video and watch the TED Talk. So his last large project before he passed away in 2017 was writing all these ideas he had together. He wanted to figure out, why are people so ignorant? Even smart people, even CEOs, even country leaders, why are people so ignorant? And he came up with 10 dramatic instincts that many people have and that can flaw and gray out the actual facts, what's in the world and how things have changed. As one, for example, is the gap instinct. We always point our finger to, those people in these poor countries, or these people, who are different culturally. It's always like a gap. And we don't understand how this gap has narrowed between the poor and the rich people. Also negativity instinct. You just open the newspaper, watch the news, go on Facebook, and you see negative news, negative information is usually much more popular than positive results, improved outcomes. Another dramatic instinct, what he's saying, is the straight line instinct. So if we're looking at our population growth, it just goes up. But we don't realize that actually our population growth has changed, and that most people in the world do not have 5, 6, 7 children anymore. Most of the world has about 2 to 3 children now. So there's lots of changes happening, and you can explore that later on at the website. That we have to really catch ourselves. Do it the way I think is that the right way to get and see the right results. The other one, again, the size instinct, is lots of people talk about large numbers and huge numbers, but oftentimes the numbers is in isolation. So does it really make a difference if it's not compared? So again, keep an eye open in it. If you have time, read the book. I really, really enjoyed it a lot. You can see here, this is the Gapminder website, and you can see that you can actually do your own animated bubble charts. You can change the X and the Y axis, the parameters. You can pick different countries if you're interested, and see how actually things have changed over time in the world. So it's a really great way to understand how different parameters relate to each other. Not necessarily causation, but there's a relation between changes, especially changes over time. So go check it out. It's really a great project and a great way to understand what's going on. So what he comes up with, his solution, is the rules of thumb. How can dramatic instincts be controlled, that we make a habit of actually knowing when we have thought flaws? And so he's talking about how to curb dramatic instincts. And again, just to curb the problems we had in our thinking before, is locate the majority. Don't do the gap, point to the others. Really look at the data. Where is the largest amount of people living? What is the the income distribution now? So things have changed if you actually look at the data, and the website I just showed you definitely helps. Also, like negative news, improvement wouldn't get attention. So bad news, negative news are just the thing what people sought after. Is it really dangerous? Maybe the curves don't go always straight up. Maybe there's a change over time. So again, look at these things and really consider what you think and why you think certain things. I've done a similar exercise with my students recently in another class. And after we looked at the TED Talk, we looked at the test, and we had some other discussions, students really realized that their own thinking has been shaded by false beliefs. And so I think it was really good for them to sort of reconsider their beliefs and thoughts about the world, especially lots of our students go into the medical field, where having an open mind and knowing what's actually going on is really important to make a difference. If you want to continue on this Gapminder project, there's a great R Studio, R programming language workbook or work set where you can actually learn how to program in R and at the same time also look at the data and draw conclusions from what you're doing. So it's a really great program, and I've worked through it before. Just to reiterate, why did I call this a public health primer? Because ignorance threatens public health. And I want to wrap up with Hans Rosling saying that he's not an optimist. He knows not everything is perfect, but he wants to make sure that people understand that things have changed. And he's a serious possibilist. It's a new category where we take emotion apart. We just work analytically with the word. We actually look at reliable data. So I really appreciate what Hans Rosling did for the world. And since I started listening to his talks and really understood where he was coming from, I have changed my thinking and my beliefs drastically. Thanks for listening, and I hope you get a chance to look into Hans Rosling and the ignorance test and look at the Gapminder website.